Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my channel, Fluent Pro Hub.
Welcome to the deep dive. You know that moment when you have something to say in English, the words are right there, but then nothing comes out. Or maybe it's the constant worry that, every tiny mistake will be magnified.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're tackling that head on today, the fear of speaking English.
It's a very common experience for learners, and, you're definitely not alone if you feel that way. You might have a strong grasp of grammar, maybe a decent vocabulary, but that crucial step of actually speaking aloud, well, it can feel like a huge leap.
Absolutely. So our goal in this deep dive is to give you a practical guide, packed with real-world examples and actionable steps to start building your confidence when speaking English.
Yeah.
We're going to explore why this fear takes hold and, more importantly, offer concrete exercises you can start using today to break free.
What's interesting to consider, I think, is that this challenge isn't solely about language skills. It also touches on our natural human desire for connection and acceptance. That underlying concern about how we'll be perceived plays a significant role.
Okay, let's get into the why behind this. Why does speaking English feel so, daunting for so many of you? Our sources highlight three main reasons. First, the fear of judgment. We worry about being laughed at or, criticized for any errors in our grammar or pronunciation.
That fear can be quite powerful because it taps into our inherent social instincts.
Yeah.
We naturally want to be understood and respected.
Right.
And speaking a new language can make us feel vulnerable to potential negative reactions.
Exactly. And that links to the second point, a lack of confidence. You might feel your vocabulary isn't wide enough or you're unsure about your pronunciation. This uncertainty can lead to a lot of hesitation and, a reluctance to speak in the first place.
That lack of confidence can unfortunately create a cycle where you avoid speaking.
Yeah.
Which then limits your practice and reinforces those feelings of inadequacy. It becomes a kind of self-sustaining barrier.
And the third factor is something many of you can probably relate to. Past negative experiences.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe you were corrected in a way that felt harsh, or you had an experience where you just froze completely in a conversation.
Yeah.
Those moments can really stick with you and make you hesitant to speak again.
Those experiences can indeed leave a lasting impression. Our brains tend to remember negative encounters more vividly, sort of as a protective mechanism.
Right.
So even one or two instances of feeling embarrassed or criticized can create a significant mental block.
Our sources even share a very relatable scenario. You're ready to speak, you know exactly what you want to say, but then poof, your mind goes blank.
Oh, yeah.
It's as if all the English, just vanishes under pressure.
It's interesting to note how anxiety can impact our cognitive functions. When we feel stressed, our brains prioritize managing that anxiety, which unfortunately leaves fewer resources available for recalling vocabulary and grammatical structures. It's actually a physiological response to feeling threatened.
But the really important message here for you is this. This fear, in all its forms, is something you absolutely can overcome.
Yes.
It's not a fixed obstacle.
Absolutely.
Right.
And the first crucial step, as our sources emphasize, is to create a safe and private space where you can practice without any concern about external judgment.
That's right. And that leads us to step one, practicing by yourself first. Think of it as your own personal English-speaking practice zone, where you can experiment freely without any pressure.
It's all about building that initial comfort level and becoming more familiar with the sort of physical act of forming English sentences.
So exercise one is something you can literally start doing now. Talk to yourself in front of a mirror. Now, I know that might feel a little strange at first.
It might seem a bit unusual initially, sure. But what's beneficial here is the sense of control it provides. You see yourself speaking, you hear your own voice, and there's no external feedback or judgment involved.
Exactly. Start with simple things. My name is your name. I live in city. I enjoy reading books and listening to music. Today, I woke up early and went for a walk. Just basic sentences to get your mouth moving and your brain making those connections.
And by observing your facial expressions and how your mouth moves, you can also begin to identify areas where your pronunciation might need some attention, even if it's just on a subconscious level at first.
Exercise 2 takes us a step further. Record yourself.
Okay.
Just use your phone to make short audio clips. Talk about what you did today. Answer simple questions like, what did you do yesterday? Or even just tell a short story. If I could travel anywhere, I would go to Japan because I love their culture.
The act of recording yourself and then listening back offers invaluable perspective. It allows you to become an objective listener to your own speech.
Right.
You'll likely notice things you wouldn't otherwise, such as hesitations, filler words, or maybe even some word choices you'd like to refine.
And the key here, again, is to approach this without being critical. This isn't about judging yourself harshly. It's about noticing patterns and being able to track your progress over time. You might be surprised at how quickly you start to hear improvements.
It's about cultivating self-awareness in a supportive environment, free from the anxiety of feeling like you're being assessed by someone else.
Then we have exercise 3, the shadowing technique. This is a really effective one.
Yeah.
You find a short audio or video clip of someone speaking English, a YouTube video, a podcast segment, a scene from a movie, and you basically repeat what they say, trying to match their tone, their speed, and even their pronunciation as closely as possible.
What's particularly helpful about shadowing is how it helps you develop a feel for the natural rhythm and intonation of English.
Yes.
It's not just about the individual words, it's about how they flow together in spoken language.
Exactly. You play a short section, maybe just a sentence or two, pause it, and then you become a shadow, mimicking exactly what you just heard. The speaker says, learning a new language takes time.
Right.
And you repeat, learning a new language takes time.
Right.
Our sources suggest doing this for just 5 to 10 minutes each day.
And consistency is really important here. Even short, regular practice sessions using the shadowing technique can lead to noticeable improvements in how smoothly and naturally you speak.
Okay, so you're starting to practice on your own. You're becoming more comfortable with the sound of your own English voice. Now, step 2 is really crucial. Reframe mistakes as opportunities.
This is a big mindset shift. This involves a fundamental change in how you view errors. Many learners see mistakes as failures, as something to be embarrassed about.
Yeah.
But the reality and what our sources highlight is quite the opposite.
Absolutely. Mistakes are not only inevitable when you're learning something new, they're actually a sign that you are engaging with the language and pushing your boundaries.
That's a great way to put it.
Think about it. If you weren't trying to speak, you wouldn't be making any mistakes at all.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of learning any new skill, mistakes provide valuable feedback. They show us what we haven't fully grasped yet and guide us toward improvement.
And the example provided is perfect. Accidentally saying, has a coffee at a restaurant.
Laugh slightly.
Yeah.
What's the most likely outcome? A polite correction, maybe, and that's it.
Probably.
The interaction continues, and you've learned something.
In most situations, people are understanding and often appreciate the effort you're making to communicate in English, especially when it's clear you're learning.
Sure.
And even a small, gentle correction can be incredibly helpful in solidifying the correct form in your mind.
So how do we actively reframe these mistakes? Exercise 1 in this step is to practice role-playing various scenarios.
Okay.
Pretend you're in everyday situations where you would need to speak English. Ordering food, can I please have a coffee and a sandwich? Asking for directions. Excuse me, where is the nearest bus stop? Introducing yourself. Hi, my name is Name. Nice to meet you. The value of role-playing is that it lowers the stakes. You're practicing in a safe, imaginary setting, which reduces the pressure of a real-world interaction. This allows you to focus on conveying your message, even if you make some errors along the way.
And the main goal here isn't to be perfect in your role-playing. It's to train your brain to prioritize getting your message across, even if your grammar or pronunciation isn't flawless.
Exactly. It's about building that mental muscle of speaking, even with imperfections.
Exercise 2 in this step is something really positive. Actively acknowledge and celebrate small wins.
I like this one.
When you catch yourself making a mistake while speaking and then immediately correct it, for example, saying, she go to school, and then correcting yourself to, she goes to school, take a moment to recognize that self-correction. Give yourself a mental pat on the back.
What's encouraging about this is the positive reinforcement it provides. By noticing and celebrating these self-corrections, you're training your brain to identify and fix errors in real time, which is a crucial skill for developing fluency.
All right, so we're becoming more comfortable with speaking, and we're learning not to let mistakes discourage us. Now, step 3 focuses on another key aspect that often causes hesitation: building your vocabulary.
Right.
The worry of not knowing the precise word you need can definitely make you freeze up.
Absolutely. It can feel like you're trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces.
Yeah.
But the crucial aspect here is how you go about expanding your vocabulary.
And our sources strongly recommend building your vocabulary through context, rather than just memorizing endless lists of isolated words.
Yes.
While rote memorization might have its place, understanding how words are actually used in sentences is much more effective for speaking.
When you learn words in isolation, you miss out on vital information, such as how they typically combine with other words, their nuances in meaning, and the grammatical structures they usually appear within. Context is key.
So exercise 1 here is to use flashcards, but with a helpful twist. Write out full sentences on them instead of just single words.
Okay, smart.
So instead of just writing confident, you would write, I feel confident when I practice speaking English.
This is a much more effective way to learn vocabulary because you're seeing the word in action within a meaningful context. This makes it easier to remember how to use it correctly when you're speaking yourself.
Exercise 2 is a fun one.
Yeah.
Play word games with yourself.
Ooh.
Give yourself a challenge to find, say, 5 different ways to express the same basic idea. So instead of always saying, I'm hungry, try to think of other options like, I could eat something, I'm starving, or food sounds amazing right now.
This kind of exercise really helps to stretch your mental flexibility and encourages you to think more creatively with the language you already possess. It helps you move beyond relying on just one way of saying things.
And exercise 3 is something you might already be doing to improve your understanding of English, but now we're focusing on its benefits for speaking. Read aloud.
Right.
Find English articles or books that interest you and read them out loud. Pay attention to how the words flow together and how sentences are constructed.
Reading aloud not only exposes you to new vocabulary within context, but also helps to improve your pronunciation and your overall fluency. You're physically engaging with the language, which helps to reinforce your learning.
Okay, so we're building our vocabulary in a more practical way. Now, step 4 is a really important reminder that speaking isn't just about, well, speaking.
Laughs.
No, it's not. It's also deeply connected to your ability to listen.
That's absolutely correct. Communication is a two-way process, and strong listening skills are fundamental to becoming a confident speaker. When you can understand what others are saying, you naturally feel more comfortable and prepared to respond.
And our sources highlight that actively listening trains your ear to the natural rhythm and patterns of spoken English, which in turn builds your confidence to replicate those patterns when you speak.
It's akin to learning the melody of a song. The more you hear it, the easier it becomes to sing along,
Exactly. So, exercise 1 here is something many of you likely enjoy already, watching TV shows or movies in English.
Fun homework?
Right. The suggestion is to choose content that you find genuinely enjoyable, whether it's a comedy, a documentary, or even engaging TED Talks. And the method is key. Watch it twice.
Right.
First, watch with subtitles to ensure you understand everything. Then watch it again without subtitles, and try pausing after each line and repeating what the actors or speakers say.
By watching without subtitles the second time, you're really focusing on the sounds and the natural flow of the language.
Yeah.
And by actively repeating the lines, you're engaging in practical pronunciation and intonation practice in a fun and engaging way.
Exercise 2 involves another fantastic resource, podcasts.
Of course.
Listen to podcasts on topics that genuinely pique your interest, whether it's fitness, travel, business, anything that grabs your attention. And the action here is to jot down any new phrases or expressions that you hear. For example, if the host says something like, at the end of the day, it's all about balance, write that down and then actively try to incorporate it into a conversation later.
This helps you to learn natural everyday English that you might not encounter in textbooks. And by consciously trying to use these new phrases in your own speech, you're making them a part of your active vocabulary.
All right, we've covered practicing alone, reframing mistakes, building vocabulary in context, and the importance of listening. Now, step 5 introduces a really powerful technique, visualizing success before you even start speaking.
The power of the mind. This technique harnesses, your mind to positively influence your performance. By mentally rehearsing successful interactions, you can significantly boost your confidence and reduce anxiety in real-life situations.
Exactly. Before an important conversation or presentation in English, take a few moments to simply close your eyes and imagine it going well. Picture yourself standing confidently, speaking clearly and using the right words and grammar, and receiving positive feedback, people nodding, asking questions, showing appreciation for what you're saying.
It's about creating a mental blueprint for success. When you already envisioned yourself succeeding, you're more likely to approach the actual situation with a greater sense of calm and capability.
Our sources suggest a specific practice for this. Spend about 5 minutes before you go to bed visualizing a successful English conversation.
Okay.
And then write down 3 affirmations, positive statements about your ability to speak English. Examples given are, I am capable of speaking English fluently, I embrace challenges as opportunities to grow, and every word I speak brings me closer to my goals.
These affirmations can be a powerful tool to reinforce those positive mental images and cultivate a stronger sense of self-belief over time. It really works for some people.
Finally, step 6 emphasizes the critical role of your environment. Surround yourself with supportive people.
So important.
This can make a tremendous difference in overcoming your fear of speaking.
The people you interact with can either amplify your anxieties or help you feel more comfortable and encouraged. Actively seeking out a supportive environment is key.
The recommendations here are to join language exchange groups. These can be local meetups or online communities where people practice English together.
Great idea.
It's a fantastic opportunity to speak in a low-pressure setting, share tips and experiences with other learners, receive gentle corrections, and celebrate each other's progress.
These groups provide a valuable sense of community and shared experience, which can be incredibly motivating.
Yeah.
And the focus is typically on communication and mutual support rather than strict error correction.
And the other recommendation is to find a language partner, someone who speaks English fluently and is willing to have regular conversations with you.
Right.
You can take turns speaking and listening and provide each other with constructive feedback.
A good language partner can offer personalized feedback and encouragement, and the consistent practice you get will significantly contribute to boosting your confidence over time.
So there you have it, a 6-step roadmap drawn from our sources to help you tackle your fear of speaking English. It's a process, as we've seen, and it takes consistent effort and a positive mindset.
Definitely.
But with these strategies, progress is definitely within your reach.
And always remember, fluency isn't about achieving perfection. It's about being able to effectively communicate your thoughts and ideas. Don't let the pursuit of flawlessness prevent you from speaking altogether.
Take it one step at a time, and please don't be afraid of making those mistakes because, as we've discussed, they are a fundamental part of how we learn and grow.
This leads to an important question for you to consider. What specific aspect of speaking English makes you feel the most anxious? And what is one small, concrete action you can take today, based on our conversation, to begin addressing that specific anxiety? Give that some thought, and perhaps that small step will be the beginning of a big change.
If you found this video helpful, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe for more engaging content to improve your English. Keep practicing and take care.